How does sensory deprivation impact homeostatic drive? Imagine being in a room with no sounds, no sights, no touch, completely cut off from your usual sensory world. What happens inside your brain and body when sensory input suddenly drops? That's what we're about to explore. Sensory deprivation means reducing or removing input from one or more senses, like sight or hearing. This change triggers your brain and body to work harder to keep everything balanced, a process called homeostasis. Homeostasis is how your body keeps things like temperature, energy, and stress levels steady, no matter what's happening outside. When sensory input decreases, your nervous system responds to keep neural activity stable. For example, if you stop hearing sounds, the parts of your brain that process sound become less active at first. But your brain doesn't just sit still. It quickly adjusts through a process called homeostatic plasticity or synaptic scaling. This means the connections between neurons get stronger or weaker to bring activity back to normal levels. In experiments with mice, when their hearing was blocked, neurons in their auditory cortex increased the strength of their signals. This helps keep neural activity from dropping too low, even without sound. Interestingly, the brain doesn't just boost all inputs equally. It tends to strengthen the connections that are linked to overall network activity rather than just sensory signals. This shows the brain's focus on maintaining a stable internal environment rather than simply restoring sensory input. Beyond the brain, sensory deprivation also affects other systems like the hypothalamus-pituitary-adrenal axis, which controls stress hormones and metabolism. When sensory signals decrease, this system slows down, reducing hormones like adrenocorticotropic hormone and corticoids. This can disrupt your body's normal balance, especially if sensory deprivation lasts a long time or happens during illness or immobilization. It can interfere with recovery and overall function. Sensory deprivation also makes you feel sleepier faster. The longer you go without sensory input or stay awake, the stronger your body's drive to sleep becomes. Sleep helps restore balance in your brain and body, so when sensory input drops, sleep pressure tends to increase. This is why people in sensory deprivation experiments often report feeling more tired and ready for rest. From strange experiments to real-world applications, sensory deprivation shows how adaptable your brain is. Even when sensory signals are cut off, your brain actively recalibrates, sometimes by strengthening connections related to overall activity rather than just sensory inputs. This quirky balancing act keeps your brain functioning and your body in check. Knowing this can help in designing therapies for sensory loss or injury recovery. It suggests that stimulating the brain or body in certain ways could boost these natural homeostatic responses. In the end, sensory deprivation reveals how your brain and body are constantly working behind the scenes to keep everything in balance, even when the usual signals are missing.